PlayStation scrapping discs is grossly anti-consumer and a major hindrance to preservation. But it also sucks because for many of us, losing physical games also has an impact on us as people. I haven't seen many people talk about that element of it, so I'm going to do it and I'm going to get a bit sentimental, so stick with it. And I'm also going to look at whether there's actually anything we can do to stop it. So I recently moved and a bunch of people asked for a room tour, which I will do. But in thinking about doing that, it made me stop and really think about what I have, what it means to me, and also what it says about me. I'm sitting in a room surrounded by video game paraphernalia of all kinds, including a whole load of physical games. This is a collection of things that made an impact on me that was powerful enough for me to decide to dedicate physical space to them and also ensure that they are something that I see every single day. These are things that define me and remind me of what I love, but they're also connections to moments in time. I moved to America a few years ago, and one of the hardest parts of doing that was leaving my collection of games behind. The games on my shelves in the UK and in my closets played a huge part in how my life developed to the point where I could then move to America and do a job that I really love. I had games spanning everything from Super Nintendo to PlayStation 4. So that was my entire history as someone that fell in love with games and then built a life around games. So not being able to take that stuff with me felt like I was abandoning a part of myself and saying goodbye to things that made me who I am. And I wasn't ready to do that, and I didn't want to do that, but I didn't have a choice. As I get older and my memory gets worse and the world changes in ways that makes me more cynical, that stuff is important. Physical games, figures, books, they are key to keeping me grounded. They are a bridge to better times or to moments where I experienced something that changed me and informed who I became. This is kind of like the adult version of putting posters up on walls as a kid. Although I still very much am sticking posters on walls. I'm just putting them in frames instead of blue tacking the corners to the wall. As kids, those kind of like posters are ways to connect with who we are and who we want to be. Well, you know, whether it's bands or movies or games or wrestlers or anime or whatever, there's something in those posters that evokes an emotional response. And those are really important. It might sound a bit dramatic, but similarly, this room is now really important to me. That is because of what is in here. It's laid out in a way that no matter where I look, there's something there affirming that is looking back at me. There's a game that I love. There's a figure that represents a game that I love. There's a poster that is a character. That it all speaks to me. These are the kind of spaces that I think are super important to people and that people really need and need to have. And as the years go by, because of the way physical media is going extinct in favor of digital media, these kind of spaces are becoming more and more difficult to construct. It makes me think about people that are falling in love with games today and that will fall in love with games over the next few years and be changed by them and have experiences that are so memorable to them in the same way that I and we had. And how the elimination of that physical media is kind of poised to rob them of the simple but important interaction that comes with being able to see and hold a game that you love and know that you can connect with what you're holding, but also reconnect with it by experiencing it over again. It's a reminder of who you are or where you were. I think that sentiment on the value of owning physical games is important, and the opinion on how that is going to change, I think, was best expressed recently by Sohei Nikawa, the creator of the Disgaea series. So he was asked at Anime Expo about this issue, and he said that it's important that people can bring their games to events like Anime Expo and that they can ask someone to sign it, and then they can take that home and display it. They're important because those games carry meaning. And then he went on to say that the people that are making these decisions to eliminate physical in favor of digital, they don't understand the feelings of those kind of fans. They may never have considered what physical editions mean to the people who value them in that way. And that's me and probably you. He's talking about people like us. And then Nikawa went on to say that if they're going to go as far as eliminating physical games, they may as well eliminate the hardware too, because just the TV is enough, probably referring to cloud gaming. And he said that why would you even need a console? If you're going to get rid of physical games, go all the way and get rid of hardware as well. I think he was being maybe facetious and a bit angry. And I won't go as so far as to say that hardware should also be eliminated too. I can't get behind that. But I can get behind the emotion that is driving that statement. Games going all digital burns a bunch of important bridges, and it threatens to deny us the ability to create, keep, and pass on experiences. And it's so sad that there's nothing we can really do about it. If I made it sound like earlier that there was a way to stop it, I apologize. I don't think there is. Capitalism is driving these decisions, and they are being made by people in companies that ultimately can make the decisions unilaterally. So there may be a backlash, and in the past there have been instances of us all kind of collectively kicking our feet in anger to turn the tide, but it's not a tide anymore. Now it's a profit-driven hurricane. And there's not much we can do to stop it. What Sony stands to gain is too important to their bottom line to care about something like how it makes someone feel to hold a copy of Metal Gear Solid and know that this is a game that changed your life. They don't care about that. They've done the calculations. They've factored in the backlash. They have all the power, and they just don't care. It's worth it for them. But there are small things that I think we can do to at least give ourselves a chance at preserving what we have. I watched this video from a YouTuber I really like called Damn It Jeff. I think it's really good. I'll put a link to it in the description. And in the video, Jeff talks about the ongoing efforts from people working to jailbreak the PlayStation 5 and how doing that is a way to take some of that power back. It all kind of hinges on choosing not to update the firmware on your console, because by doing that, you're effectively freezing the hardware and software in time. And that lets people find ways to open it up and do things that the hardware is capable of, but is being gated because Sony has created a closed ecosystem. And that stuff also includes giving you access to games for as long as you have the hardware. For legal safety, I can't say I endorse what he's saying, but I also can't stop you from watching the video and choosing to do what he says or help move the effort that he's undertaking forward. From a strictly academic standpoint, it's a very interesting idea. The other thing that Jeff mentions is that because Sony has given us a heads up, they've told us in advance they're going away, we've been kind of given an opportunity to preserve the important stuff that's available now. The Video Game History Foundation put out the statement talking about the responsibility that the industry has to take part in the preservation of games and the need for reform of digital copy protection laws to make that preservation of games easier for everyone. And in the closing statement from Frank Cifaldi, he says that asking museums to download a copy of GTA 6 and then just hoping that in 50 years' time it's going to work is not a preservation solution. That's not good enough. I think that we can and should start thinking about preservation as something that we all need to actively engage in now for the games that we have now. That's current games and everything that came before that that we still have access to. We don't really know how important or valuable a game is until we're looking back and wishing it was still accessible or playable or just someone had it. That could be a game that's a 10 out of 10. It could be a 5 out of 10, or it could be a 1 out of 10. A game that you absolutely love, or a game that you absolutely hate or are ambivalent to, but you think that there might be value in keeping it around. So I guess what you can do is keep what you have safe. And when you can, and while we can, maybe buy games that you think are important to you, old or new, or you think will be important to other people, or you just can grab them, and also to support organizations like the Video Game History Foundation that are trying their best to make sure the games and the culture that forms around games just can't be yanked off a server at the whim of an executive and then it's gone forever. I am going to leave a link to the Video Game History Foundation below, and you can donate. So please do if you're able to. Anyways, those are just some thoughts, some sappy thoughts, I think, about an angle on, physical games going away that I hope that more people talk about and I think is important. Before you go, little request, please could you hit that like button, the thumbs up, and if you're not already, please do subscribe. I'd appreciate that. It's been really nice to see conversations happening in the comments. It kind of shows that a community is growing around the videos and people are talking. And my last video was about the Dusk Bloods and how a PvPvE game will make From Software's games overall better in the long run. So if you haven't watched that, please do check it out and maybe leave your thoughts on that subject matter in the comments. I'll do a proper room tour soon. I didn't want to just cram it into this, but people have asked for it, so I will do it and I can get up close and personal with some of the things and tell you where it came from. But yeah, I'll see you on the next one. Peace out.